Hey everyone, this is Rab News Blog Animation Bliss, and welcome to the underrated Nicktoons corner. So today's underrated Nicktoons episode we talk about today is the Angry Beavers Born to Be Beavers pilot episode. Now, before we get into this episode, I would like to remind everyone that new videos will be posted up every Sunday. It could be Sunday morning, Sunday night, or Sunday evening, depending on when we could get the videos posted up. And if you happen to see any videos posted up during the week, that must mean there was a bit of animated news released during the week that we wanted to cover, so those would be considered special videos. And every Monday we would have the top 15 animated facts series. We would go over 15 facts about an animated series or movie that was suggested by the viewers, so those would be posted up every Monday. So now let's get into this episode review of the Angry Beavers Born to Be Beavers. So what happens in this episode is that we see Norbert and Daggett move out of their parents' house because as by Beaver law, if a second litter comes in, which in this case was Stacy and Chelsea, if they were born, then the first litter, who were Norbert and Daggett, have to move out of their house. Sort of like how anybody who reaches a certain age has to move out of their parents' house once they reach adulthood. So it happens here with Norbert and Daggett that they have to move out of their parents' house because the sisters were born and they have to move out. So the majority of these episodes spent on Norbert and Daggett trying to find the perfect place to build their dam, and they go through a lot of hilarious hijinks throughout this episode. And then you see them fighting with each other a bit in this episode about Daggett's like saying Norbert's not so responsible, and Norbert's like saying you need to relax a little bit. So that's pretty much what happens in this episode. So what are my thoughts about this pilot episode? I thought this episode was pretty good. Did it have the show's signature surreal humor? Not quite, but I thought it was a really great episode and explained about how Norbert and Daggett first moved out of their parents' house and eventually built their own house later on in the episode. And then I think this is a really good episode to explain about how Norbert and Daggett came to where they are in this series. And I will admit that this episode doesn't have like the show's signature surreal humor. Like, it's more downplay in this episode than it has been in any other episodes after this. Even this second episode, Up All Night, had a little more surreal humor in it than this episode. But I think this episode did a good job with introducing Norbert and Daggett into the series and explain about how they came to where they are. It's like also in this episode you could tell that Nick Bakay and Richard Horvitz were still trying to get used to their roles as Norbert and Daggett, as there's not a lot of out there dialogue in this episode. Like, the dialogue is mostly kind of normal, I would say. Like, it doesn't go all over the place like the rest of the episodes tend to do. Like, this dialogue is much more straightforward. Like, it's just talking about Norbert and Daggett trying to deal with moving out on their own and trying to find a place to live. And you do see a bit of their relationship in this episode too. You see how they do argue with each other, but they also care about each other. So, and Norbert seems more relaxed in this episode than he has been in the later episodes. And Daggett seems like the more responsible one in this episode than he is in later episodes. So also this episode would be kind of odd for some people, especially when you're so used to looking at the later episodes of the Angry Beavers and you see that Norbert is like the perfect one and Daggett's like the is a bit, I guess, dumb in a sense, but not too dumb. But again, it would be kind of weird for some fans to see Norbert more relaxed in this episode and Daggett more responsible in this episode. So those are some personalities of Norbert and Daggett that were kind of odd in this episode, or at least as this show goes on, it develops a little more to their personalities. But overall, I thought this episode was pretty good. Again, the show's signature surreal humor is not played up a lot in this episode, but it's a good episode that really introduces Norbert and Daggett to the audience. And I definitely recommend you check out the Born to Be Beavers pilot episode if you're watching the Angry Beavers. So that's my review on Born to Be Beavers from the Angry Beavers. Have you seen this episode yet? And if you have, what do you thought about this episode? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? Do you think it was a good pilot episode for the Angry Beavers? Please feel free to comment below, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter so we can keep you updated any new videos we post up, and also like our Facebook page, and also support us through Patreon so we can continue to push out more great content for all you guys. So that's it for this video, and this is Rab News Blog Animation Bliss, and I'll see you later.